As you begin listening, you may notice certain rhythms and patterns begin to shape your thoughts, subtly, smoothly, subliminally, as if something inside you already knows how to evolve, adapt and rewire. Because it's a way a brain learns. It's not always through effort. Sometimes it's through permission. You can learn this. Say it softly to yourself, as though it's already true, because it is. If you ever wondered how belief becomes biology, how neurons respond not to logic but to emotion, to repetition, to imagination, then imagine now. You are a sculptor and your brain is like clay. Let me tell you about a woman who once believed she was too old to learn piano, until one day she placed her fingers on the keys just to try. One note, then another, and something inside clicked. Not just the keys, her neurons. Each press reshaping her identity. Because learning a skill is not about age, but repetition, curiosity, persistence. And every time she practiced, she wasn't just making music, she was making pathways. And the same is true for you. Every mistake is plasticity. Every challenge is an invitation. Every new behaviour is an upgrade. You don't try to grow. You are growth unfolding. So now ask yourself, what happens when you start believing that change is not just possible, it's inevitable? When practice meets purpose. You start to notice mistakes become teachers, curiosity becomes a compass, novelty becomes nutrition for the mind. In that realization, a shift begins, because you've begun installing something new, a system, an operating system. Let's take another example. There was a man recovering from a stroke. His right hand wouldn't move, but his mind would. And so he imagined, he visualized brushing his teeth, writing his name, holding a spoon, and the brain, clever, plastic, eager to serve, responded. Because mental imagery is rehearsal, and rehearsal is repetition, and repetition is reinforcement. And what fires together, wires together. So what if right now, you began imagining a version of you that wakes each day with a playful mind, hungry for novelty, ready to explore? How long before that became you? Not long, because your identity, it's a story you rehearse. And you are the author, with a pen that writes in neurochemical ink. You might remember a time when a challenge seemed impossible, and then it wasn't. What changed wasn't the world, it was you, your focus, your interpretation, your frame. That's the power of cognitive restructuring. Change the frame and the picture shifts. What used to be fear becomes fuel. What used to be doubt becomes drive. You're a lifelong learner. Say it, whisper it, embody it. Not because it sounds nice, but because your neurons believe what you feed them. Affirmations, they're not fluff. They're programming commands. Every time you say, I can figure this out, this is strengthening me. Every moment I evolve. You're sending instructions to the deepest part of your mind. The part that remembers how to heal, grow and expand. The part that already knows how to organize reality around new beliefs. So imagine right now, you're stepping into a new identity, the curious one, the resilient one, the open-minded, ever-evolving, ever-learning one. You're breathing deeply, and that breath becomes a bridge between old habits and new possibilities. Because neuroplasticity is not just a word, it's your birthright. It's your power to rebuild, reroute, regenerate. Your thoughts are architects. Your habits are builders. Your emotions, electricity. And the structure, well, the structure is repetition. The framework is attention. The method is consistency. The outcome, a self that's endlessly sculptable. Let me offer another example. A child learning to ride a bike, falling, crying, getting back up. Every fall, it isn't failure, it's feedback. Each retry, a repatterning. The muscles learn, the brain recalibrates, and suddenly they're riding. Now look at your life. What bike are you learning to ride? What skill, what belief, what behaviour? Keep riding. Keep falling forward. Because every repetition, it writes codes in your neural firmware. And just as a tree grows stronger in the wind, you grow resilient through stress, flexible through failure, capable through chaos. Now notice how it's already happening. The you that's reading this is not the same you from 5 minutes ago, because something has shifted. Perhaps it's the rhythm, perhaps the imagery, perhaps a deep recognition that what you believe, what you embody, what you practice becomes who you are. So from now on, you practice mindfulness not as a technique, but as an identity. You visualize success not as fantasy, but as a neural exercise. You reframe pain not as punishment, but as the brain's invitation to grow. You set goals not to achieve, but to activate transformation. You understand now that emotions guide energy, that presence is power, that resilience is reality reimagined. And so, as the loops begin to close, as the metaphors nest within your awareness, you don't even need to remember all this, because your unconscious it already has. It's already integrating, installing, implementing this new operating system, where change is natural, effort becomes ease, and every belief is a seed that blooms into behaviour, just by being watered with attention. And so, you know now, this was never about learning something new. This was about remembering what was always yours, the power to grow, the permission to become, the practice of becoming your most powerful self. Now that you know that, you don't have to try. You just have to keep evolving, and you already are.